There's one tabletop role-playing game that dominates the whole industry: Dungeons and Dragons. With an estimated revenue of between 100 million and 150 million US dollars, it dwarfs the second biggest in the industry at 36 million US dollars. And not only does it reign supreme in revenue, but also at people's tables, with many people only playing D&D and nothing else. But how do we get to this situation? In this video, I want to explore why D&D is the top dog and what this means for the future of the industry. Let me take this crown off for now. Hi there, my name is Fondue. I'm a tabletop role-playing game YouTuber, pro game master, and I also happen to work in the games industry. Usually, I talk about a software called Foundry VTT, but today I want to explore the TTRPG industry and D&D's position in it. If this kind of stuff interests you, I would ask you to subscribe to the channel and to like the video down there. First, we have to understand that the tabletop role-playing game industry is a relatively small industry. According to Allied Market Research, the global tabletop gaming industry was valued at 2.5 billion US dollars in 2021 and is projected to reach 4.1 billion US dollars by 2031. For comparison, the global video game industry was valued at 314 billion US dollars in 2021 and is projected to reach 521 billion by 2027. This means that it is possible for one game to dominate the entire industry due to the industry's small size, and it makes it hard for others to challenge that dominance. In video games, on the other hand, it's not possible for one game to do this because the industry is so huge that there is room for several successful big companies and games. As I mentioned before, D&D is also the prominent game that many play exclusively. Roll20, a website that people use to play tabletop role-playing games online, released data showing that in the fourth quarter of 2021, Dungeons and Dragons accounted for about 55% of games ran on the site. That is a majority of tabletop role-playing game players playing Dungeons and Dragons. In video games, you also have a similar trend with huge games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and League of Legends, not to mention mobile games in and of themselves, but the industry is way bigger than TTRPGs, which leaves a lot more room for smaller games and companies to succeed. So one reason that D&D is able to do this is due to the size of the market, but we also have to talk about the history of the game itself. Dungeons and Dragons was originally released back in 1974, and it has since then gotten several new additions and grown from a humble game made by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson to a game acquired by Wizards of the Coast, who are part of toy giant Hasbro. So Dungeons & Dragons was effectively one of the first commercially available tabletop role-playing games, and it got a passionate following early on. This early entry into the tabletop role-playing game market, practically creating it in part, allowed D&D to solidify a place for itself. This place could then be used to grow the game, and grow that game did. As new editions of the game came out, D&D's popularity grew, and it secured its position as the most popular TTRPG. There was a small misstep with the 4th edition of the game, but luckily for Wizards of the Coast, the 5th edition of the game, the edition we are currently on, drastically improved on that. In 2014, the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons was released, and it did two things very right to bring in new players. 1. The edition is more focused on storytelling than previous versions. 2. The rules are more streamlined, making it easier for new players to start playing. These two factors made the game more attractive to new players and even people who had never played tabletop RPGs before. The conditions were set for the game to become more popular than ever, and about 1 year later, a show called Critical Role would change the TTRPG industry. In 2015, a bunch of voice actors decided to start streaming their D&D home campaign to people on the internet. Little did the Critical Role founders realize, but they popularized a brand new form of media called actual plays. Actual plays are when people watch other people play tabletop RPGs, either live or recorded. In the wake of Critical Role, many shows like Dimension 20 and High Rollers followed, which opened up tabletop role-playing game to a brand new audience. Many of these actual play viewers were people that had never heard of TTRPGs before, and now they were exposed to Dungeons & Dragons, which is what primarily these shows play. Wizards of the Coast has even attributed part of D&D 5e's success to Critical Role and other actual plays. This explosion in popularity further helped D&D retain and grow its position as the market leader. Then, in 2020, the pandemic hit. As people were stuck inside and looked for ways to spend time with their friends and family digitally, tabletop role-playing games stepped up to the task. This was once again a boon for D&D, as now there were even more people picking up the hobby. The demand for online TTRPG platforms like Roll20 also exploded, as people now needed and wanted robust tools for online TTRPG gaming. This event allowed D&D to once again grow and to also assert its dominance into the online space. Now, D&D was the king in both physical and online spaces. We've now seen how D&D secured its position in the market, but what does it mean for the TTRPG industry and its future? The massive popularity of D&D has led to the tabletop role-playing game market being filled to the brim with Dungeons & Dragons content. Not only is Wizards of the Coast putting out 6 books this year alone, but in addition to that, there is a huge amount of third-party publishers. These are companies and individuals who are making supplemental content, think new items, adventures, enemies, etc., that are compatible with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So we have a market that is dominated by Dungeons & Dragons, with constant new Dungeons & Dragons only content coming out. And because the TTRPG industry is relatively small, as I mentioned before, this drove of D&D content leaves little room in the market for things that aren't D&D, and creates a more homogeneous and, in my opinion, boring space. One of the best ways to see this situation is to look at the tabletop role-playing games on Kickstarter and see how much of them are D&D specific projects. This homogeneity also leads to a situation where companies are incentivized to create D&D content because that's where the money and players are, and success is more likely, which in turn feeds the stagnant situation in the industry. It's a vicious cycle. To exacerbate the situation, many people in the tabletop gaming space only play Dungeons & Dragons and will refuse to try anything else. Like, imagine if you had a friend who only ate pizza and nothing else. Sure, pizza is good, but eating only pizza would get very old very fast and wouldn't be very good for you. That's what this reluctance to try other games is like. So most people play D&D and many of them refuse to try other games. Frustrating. This might seem like a bleak situation and all doom and gloom, but I am actually hopeful for the future of the industry, and here's why. I actually think that this situation will get better over time and is a symptom of many new people entering this industry. According to research done by Wizards of the Coast themselves in 2020, 24% of D&D players are between 20 and 24 years old, with 18% in the 25 to 29-year-old bracket and another 18% in 30 to 34-year-old players. This supports the fact that many people are new to the hobby thanks to the 5th edition of the game, shows like Critical Role, and even Dungeons & Dragons being featured in shows like Stranger Things. TTRPGs by their nature require a high level of commitment, several hour sessions, and a high level of planning, getting 5 adults in one place at the same time for several hours, which I think makes people less willing to try new games. But I think, as people play D&D for longer and longer, they will naturally want to start trying new games. So I think in the near future, we will see an increase in people trying other games as well. We actually already saw this happen earlier in 2023, when during the OGL debacle, many publishers like Paizo and Chaosium saw their whole year's worth of stock sell in mere weeks. There clearly is a hunger to try other games, which is why I'm encouraging you to try other TTRPGs. There is a plethora of amazing TTRPGs waiting there to be played, and they cater to all kinds of very specific fantasies and desires. I know it can feel difficult to pick a game to try out, so I've left some article links in the description with great recommendations for you. The tabletop role-playing game industry might currently be dominated by D&D, with its 100 million USD plus revenue muscle, which is due to D&D's history, the changes made in 5th edition, and the explosion of actual plays, but I think this situation will change, and we will see other games grow in the near future. So go out there and play other TTRPGs. What do you think about D&D's dominance of TTRPGs? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts, and while you're down there commenting, I would kindly ask for a like to the video and a subscription to my channel so that this video can reach more people. I also stream on twitch.tv/diceandeasy every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern European Time, which is 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern. Feel free to drop by, discuss TTRPGs with me, and just have fun overall. On the screen right now, you're going to see a video of mine where I give you my virtual tabletop recommendations after having tried over 20 of them. You should check it out. It's a real good one. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.